Bill's guest tonight, Elayne Boosler. From Loveline, Dr. Drew Pinsky, Marina Sirtis, and Alkon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please, hey, thank you. So what happened at the end of the world? I'm all set up here. The only American appliance that stopped working was Boris Yeltsin. The airlines, no planes fell, the terrorists, nothing happened, nuclear power plants worked, computers. I am so disappointed. We spent all this money for nothing. It's like a worldwide Ken Starr investigation. It is less dangerous than a double date with Puff Daddy. Not one glitch. Well, one glitch. I have to say there was one. Happened to me New Year's night. I mistakenly got a lap dance from a stripper who was 119 years old. That's really. But I guess I should say Happy New Year. Belatedly, and it was quite an event for many people back in Washington. I guess you saw President Clinton with the big event there. He took the stage with Will Smith. Did you see that? That was a big mistake. The way they introduced them, Will Smith and the President, the Fresh Prince, they said, and DJ Jizzy Dress. That is probably not the way And speaking of which, Monica Lewinsky is once again dominating the news. I tell you, this shows you that nothing much changes over the millenniums. Talk about somebody who took her 15 minutes to 2 millenniums. She's all over the news. USA Today, Larry King tonight, because her Jenny Craig commercial started to air yesterday. She lost 40 pounds. Hallelujah. Thank God for the 3rd millennium. Monica Lewinsky, and she does look great. In fact, she lost so much weight, ladies and gentlemen, she can fit into her old desk. Okay, let's meet our panel. Her syndicated column, Ask the Advice Goddess, appears in 70 newspapers all over the country. Amy Alkon. Amy. Hey, good to see you here. Thank you. Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. She's a fine actress known all over the galaxy as Star Trek counselor Deanna Troi. Marina Sirtis. Marina. There you go. Thank you for coming back. Thank you. A fabulous committee this weekend. She'll be at the Walnut Creek Art Center at a benefit for Tony LaRusso's Animal Rescue Foundation. Good for you. Our pal Elayne Boosler right over here. Hello, lover. I'm all right. And he's the co-author of the Drew and Adam book, the co-host of Loveline, and a genuine MD, Dr. Drew Pinsky. Doc, how are you? All right, now look, I found this stuff. I had rations and water, and I'm ready for, like, you know.
It's like my house, the bunker, you know.
Because I thought if my Discover card didn't work, I was going to have to resort to cannibalism. Isn't that the way they sold this thing to us? Isn't this are you disappointed like I am?
Yeah, I wanted people to, be out rioting in the streets, and, you know, people, they're such weenies. In L.A., they stayed home. There were supposed to be 30,000 people downtown. There were 3.
Yeah.
Well, I think in L.A., I'm going to stick up for L.A. because it looks like I'm the only person who likes L.A. on the whole planet.
No, not true.
Well, you've got the L.A. accent.
I think in LA it was a much more spiritual thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I really do. I think people.
Those tops coming up with
in New York, where when you're being spiritual, it means you don't kick the homeless guy as you step over him. Yeah. But I think in LA, people decided that what they wanted to do was spend the New Year with their loved ones and see it in that way, and not.
But what about their wives?
Yeah, right.
That's for their wives to sort out.
This is part of my problem with this holiday and other things like Christmas and people's attitude on Valentine's Day. People look at these holidays, and on Christmas they say, okay, it's Christmas, we should feed the homeless. Like they're not hungry the other 364 days a year. And I think Disney is the same way. Yeah, right.
I think the media hyped this whole thing. I think they knew this wasn't going to be a problem.
Stuff. PBS, I mean, that around the world stuff was so beautiful to watch, and so it was spiritual. And then
can we hear it from Peter Jennings, who was on TV for like 24 hours?
Yeah, but you know, I thought I was going to break into You'll Never Walk Alone and end the telethon, but the thing that was amazing in South Africa, every time they do anything in South Africa, it has to be on Robben Island, and they make Mandela come back. And you know, he was in prison on Robben Island for 29 years, and every time they said, "Here's the fireworks from Robben Island," and Mandela's on the air. Don't you think he said to them, "Can we do this from Planet Hollywood maybe this time?"
Well, not Planet Hollywood because it's been blown up, but you know,
they were being spiritual there.
Well, actually, that was a beautiful ceremony because the kids in the shape of Africa.
This is no different than Sweeps, which is coming up next month in February. There will be, you know, every show will have those things. Your underwear could be killing you.
Right.
Tune in at 11.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
That thing on your ass might be cancer. You better watch our show.
I think you're
that's
right.
exactly what they did with this. They hyped this
I think people are done with that. I think people are re-entrenching, as you say, not so much in spirituality, but in their relationships and their important relationships. Didn't you get a feeling, at least out in this part of the country, that people spent time quietly with their family, with their friends, connect in a connected way?
Would you say that about anything?
I do, it's true.
Would you say about everything?
The only reason they did that, Doc, was because they thought they couldn't get into a good party.
Yeah, and because they thought they'd be killed riding the
I'm
streets.
wondering what Bill Maher puts in his rations. Is it porn in here? I mean, what do you put in
You
your
brought up a really good point, which is that we have too much media, and the media we have, they have too little to say. We have people on TV, they're blonde for a living. They're more comfortable talking about somebody's cat than the Taliban.
These guys, I want you to know about that.
Right.
You're not one of those blondes.
No,
I mean, I think it's truthful.
You know what's going to say hair with these three, by the way. They're backstage having a hair
We were
convention.
discussing politics. How dare you?
If people lived truthfully on television, we would have porn stars and wrestlers reading the news, because essentially that's the level of intellect we have.
Ooh, well, what are you angry at? That there was hype about New Year?
I think they hyped this. I think they knew that nothing was going to happen.
Oh, that
And they
Y2K is what you're angry at.
Right.
But you know, in my house with the computer.
Honey, I'm in my camouflage outfit. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back to this. I'm angry. That's right, I'm angry. All right, and you know, the world didn't end. That's what I'm upset about. But let me ask you this. Now, leading up to 2000, for years, you know, we've heard people say, well, you know, that's the millennium. A lot of people said Jesus is going to come back and kick ass. Okay. Other people thought the sun god was going to come down and hit us with a bolt of lightning. It's a millennial moment. Now, how different are these people who, you know, are sophisticated urban types? That's so funny that shit comes going to go. To the people who thought that, you know, your electric toothbrush was going to kill you because of Y2K. Haven't we just exchanged one myth of superstition for another?
Well, they've got another year, really, because they can argue that the millennium doesn't start until next year, and so they can pray for another year for the end of the world. Yeah, that's what they're going to tell their followers.
I was really hoping for Y2K trouble, so I would have an even playing field for the way I work a computer. You know, I thought, well, then everyone will be like me.
You know, that's the thing. Computers, I know they're everywhere, but they're not everywhere.
Well,
they're not.
They
don't run your sink. You know, I mean, what was? They're not in my shoes and in my teeth. What?
They may develop the water supply. I mean, they may be responsible for how water flows.
I mean, the thing is, it was not too long ago that we lived without electricity, and I thought about this with all this Y2K stuff. You know, oh, what's going to happen? Well, I'll sit in my house, light a couple of candles, and read a book.
Right.
Big deal. Forever? Yeah. I could read for a long time. Forever? With less television, we'd all be better off.
What would you say if you were ahead of one of those cults that told people the world was going to end?
And it didn't
what do you
end?
tell them
I would
today?
say, take the bag off your head and save the quarters for tolls.
We were operating on Bill Gates' Windows 99 clock, and it's next year instead.
It's one of the frustrating problems with paranoid people is that they will find something else to be paranoid about. And people who need to be paranoid will have something to preoccupy about. if it's the government or something, it'll be some other force that's outside of themselves. They don't understand.
It could be a conspiracy that got in the way of this happening.
That's right. There'll be something.
There'll be some nut somewhere doing some numbers and saying, this is, and they'll come up with.
Maybe they don't know. Maybe they're still down there, like the Japanese will come out of 40 years later out of the forest and not know that nothing crashed.
Like me.
I think that's a big problem.
What is in the ration? I want to know what you keep in your ration.
Cat food? Just a good friend of mine. Now, let me ask you about resolutions, because this is, if ever there was a time for a clean slate, it's not just a new year, decade, century, millennium. I saw that Mr. Ripley movie the other day, which is about somebody reinventing himself. Monica Lewinsky got a makeover, Linda Tripp got a makeover. It is the time of the makeover, of reinventing, and
I've already broken mine.
Why?
No more talk shows. Look,
I want a new head like Linda Tripp.
But I think one of the reasons we're talking about this is that people are realizing how empty the physical makeover is, right? Is that we don't trust it.
I think that's amazing that Linda Tripp looked in the mirror and said, what's wrong with me? It's the face. It's not this horrible person I am.
It's all part of this superficiality that we live in. I mean, they keep saying that the 80s was the me, egotistical decade. Right. What was different about the 90s? Did it just got worse?
It just got worse.
It was a me, exactly.
Narcissism, right. I said that on our Christmas Eve show.
There are worthwhile resolutions. I've made one and I intend to keep it. No more dates with John Rocker. No more.
But narcissism is pandemic in our culture right now. That's what you're getting at.
I believe
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
And I thought it's gotten so bad, I don't think we even know how to identify it anymore.
Sold to us, and I hate that it's rammed down our throats. You can't get away from it.
We don't focus on character. It's all about personality and the exterior, which is why Linda Tripp thought if she just got a new head, she'd be a new woman.
Or she thought, exactly.
Monica Lewinsky losing weight, I have some compassion for her, but I think that is something that is part of our culture. Just fix the outside, and people don't really look within.
Well, I think Bill was right. I mean, with Linda Tripp, everyone was making jokes about how ugly she was.
Only because she was so ugly from the inside. They wouldn't have done that.
It was like she didn't hear the jokes about what a, snake she was. I mean, that's all she heard.
She knew the reality of what a snake she was.
Right. It didn't.
She heard what a cow she was, not what a snake. And that's wrong, ladies and gentlemen. That is wrong. But,
Are you British? Because we use that term a lot. Cow?
Yeah.
But, I think I want to reinvent myself because it's a new, not completely, but it's like,
Do you want to be Madonna?
No, just...
He's going to be an empathically concerned man.
Not really. I just mean it's like a new day. It's like I want to have certain things that I never do again because I want to say in the third millennium I never did that or I did that. I'm not saying I really want to reinvent. I tried that. No, people do. I remember vividly when I went to college, I thought, you know what? I'm going off to college. Nobody knows me here. I can be James Bond now. But there was a kid from my high school. There was one kid from my high school who went to I had to kill him.
I think part of the problem in this, though, is that people take this one-day year. It's what I brought up before, Valentine's Day. It's the one day people act loving. They think they buy somebody a ruby and they can be a jerk the rest of the year. And it's the same thing with this. Somebody's the Antichrist on, December 31st, and then they change their Jesus for one day, and then they go back to being the Antichrist.
Well, the idea of a resolution is that you maintain it for some period of time. I mean, I personally have a resolution that I'm going to be less abrasive for the rest of my life.
That's mine.
But I quit. But you know what?
Really?
I quit smoking, so I think it cancels it out because I'm going to be really abrasive for a little while.
See, and my resolution is I'm going to increase smoking. I'm going to gain 25 pounds, and I'm going to really drink heavily because I'm making resolutions I can keep from now.
Good for you.
Okay. Here's my resolution. I'm going to keep the show on time this year.
Tomorrow, when our guests will be Mary Lou Henner, Julio from Anna and the King, Bai Ling, and radio talk show host Dennis Prager.
Okay. Now, I don't know what you all did, actually, on New Year's Eve, but I will never forget the news story that was out the week before that said fully half the people in this country plan to be having sex at the stroke of midnight.
so to speak.
I'm not kidding.
Stroke of midnight.
Oh, I get it.
Why do you think they call it that? Why they call it that?
You're saying when the ball drops.
Yeah, exactly.
I see. Okay.
Isn't it just like the French? It's just like the French to put the explosives sideways. We don't have to put them up like everybody.
Yeah, you're right.
We don't want them to go up. We go sideways. We don't share with anybody.
But I don't know how much I believe those surveys. I mean, people want to say that they're going to be having sex, but I think most of them are hiding under their bed with their Evian bottles and their Uzi, waiting for the millennium to come.
Is this the Red Book article?
Bitter and cynical.
You're great.
Yeah. I actually read the LaBerbe, and what it was 16 to 21-year-olds, and half of them expected the celebrations to end the day at midnight with sex, and they don't sex the differentiate among sexes. So I imagine that half was probably the males. And what males end the celebrations without expecting sex at the end of the party? That's all males. Every celebration.
I think girls like it too, and I'm really tired of this idea that men are one way and women are another way, because I don't think there's one uniman and one uniwoman, and frankly, I enjoy it as much as the next guy.
Yeah, but that's yeah, you enjoy it the same, I agree, but that doesn't mean you are the same.
Well, the only reason we didn't say we said we didn't expect to be having sex during midnight because we already know better.
No, I mean,
we wanted to do, but we didn't expect to be.
It's different. I have joined the working classes now. My husband and I bought a restaurant, so New Year's we were up there, a big party, and I was outside having one of my last cigarettes, and I was talking to a guy who actually was going back in to like grab the girl that he didn't really like, but you know he was going to have sex with anyway because it was New Year's and he bought her a couple of drinks.
But wait, how different is that from any other night?
Well, I don't do that. I don't go in and say, oh, I don't really like you very much, but come on home with me.
I mean,
when you're younger?
You don't get kissed at midnight.
That was the 80s.
Well, I don't? Speak for yourself.
Every other day of the year you just get kissed automatically at midnight?
I would hope so. It doesn't always happen that way, but, you know. Well, no, I think people use that as...
You're doing good. I mean,
to deny the biological differences between men and women and the behavioral outcomes of those, it just doesn't make sense.
But I don't deny that.
Women love to have sex and hope to be having it at midnight, and I totally agree with you.
Absolutely, but women tend to come in through love and intimacy, and men come in through a pure biological drive.
I agree with you, generally speaking. For example, if men could go, hi, I'm the girl. If heterosexual men, so I'm a slut too. I'm trying to reclaim that word.
26 years on the road, I can tell you everything about your degree. Women love sex, and they don't care if they if straight guys could go the way gay guys do, to a bar on the way home and have indiscriminate sex with some woman and say, thanks a lot, that was great, not pay for it, they would, and women wouldn't do it. So I agree with you that there are some differences, but I just don't think, I think there's, there's this tendency to say, men all want sex and women are all denying it, and it's just not the way it is.
But I think it also has to do with age. You know, when women reach a certain age, they give themselves permission to get laid.
Well, yeah. Actually,
you know what it is? The receptivity changes.
What
They're more receptive.
They're more horny.
It's a receptive.
Women get hornier as they get older.
Really?
Isn't that
My husband's going to be thrilled.
I think women stop saying that I have to have a relationship when they don't necessarily want one. People can just have sex. It can just be sex. It doesn't have to be, where does this go tomorrow? It can be, thanks a lot. That was great.
You know what? They're flashing your phone number under you right now.
Good.
But that has to do with age, because when they're younger, they don't see that guys are such failures at everything, and then they just want them to do a decent job at the one thing they can do.
Part of the problem with that, there's a hormone called oxytocin that affects women slightly differently that's released during sex. It bonds. It's a bonding hormone.
What is this?
It's a bonding hormone that's released during sex, and women are affected differently by it. They actually get bonded biologically.
What do you think at the end of
Oxytocin.
Yeah, you don't have much of it. Don't worry.
I use that on Temple. What the hell is that?
But isn't that what makes men fall asleep after sex? I always get letters like that.
So this is a hormone that both of us have?
They're influenced differently by it. They have a different experience. The women's brain and central nervous system is affected differently by different hormones, and they get bonded in the moment with that person that caused the release of that hormone.
All right, I believe that we can overcome our biology. For example, if you're sitting next to some guy in a restaurant who's a better dinner than you, you don't grab the steak in your teeth and bound out the door on all fours. It's just we're civilized, and if you do that, you'll never be allowed back. And by the same token, you know, you can have sex with somebody and say, you know what, this guy, he's a surfer, he has no brains, I can't, you know, this is not going anywhere, this is just sex, and I'm leaving tomorrow, and overcome
all women will do that at some time or another. They will.
I just stick up for surfers here because I married one. Wait a second. They're not necessary. Don't paint the whole bunch black like that because I'm getting upset over here.
Okay, so we don't want you to get abrasive because that's going to blow your whole year.
I'm trying to, like, you know,
all right,
be nice
we'll
about
take a break. We'll be right back.
You're planning to be in the Los Angeles area and would like free tickets to Politically Incorrect? Call 323-575-4321.
The guy knows more about hormones, I tell you. But I bet you don't know the old joke, how do you make a hormone?
Don't pay her.
I knew it. Good. All right. Starting up the year fresh, aren't we? Tomorrow in the new millennium, we have Mary Lou Henner, Coolio from Anna and the King, Bei Ling, and Dennis Prager. It's a new millennium, folks.